And this is The In Show. And I'm your host, Gus Summers. It's good to be back with you today. That's right, we are broadcasting live from our In Show studios on the Sunset Strip from the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood. And we have a great in-studio guest, Miss Jillian Lee. Jillian, how are you today?
Couldn't be better, Gus.
Oh, yeah?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to send you a picture of us. We took a selfie.
Yes, we did, yes.
So I'm trying to send it to you so you can have it forever.
When I had to step out for a minute and you were telling me, I was taking pictures all around your studio.
What I just learned is a reel-to-reel.
Yes.
Which was used to do sound in old movies. I took a picture with it.
We have, if you look, see, here we have the turntables, and the turntables actually work.
Really?
So everything in here is vintage, but it all works. You know, of course, we have all the modern equipment, plop in the CD, but everything is, I think it's more nostalgia.
I really like it in here. It just feels good. It feels like a time warp.
Doesn't it? What I like about this particular studio, it's one of the larger ones, and it has a couch, has chairs. So we get a group of people in here, but the feel. Yeah. It seems like you've gone back 30 years.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And there's like faces in all the equipment because it's so old school that it looks like it has its own life. It's quite lovely.
Doesn't it?
I like it in here. It's really nice. Well, thank you for having me. Actually.
Oh my!
Now that we're on the topic of your
on me. Topic on me. Thank you. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you took the time because I know you're very busy. You play and you're a writer and you do all sorts of stuff. Man, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've been out here and you were telling me the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like it out here?
I love LA. I was in New York for a long time and I spent a bunch of time sort of going back and forth, and I feel like that's a really relatable thing. Like a lot of people who live in New York that want to come out to LA sort of spend a moment debating and kind of like with one toe in the water. So I did that for a while, almost 2 years. Then
going back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And people talk about how like living bi-coastal is some sort of a fantastic dream. I don't recommend it. I mean, it's nice to have routine and to have, friends that know they can depend on you and one place to just sort of dig your heels in for a while. So for now, I'm very happy to be just in LA.
Just in LA?
Yeah, it's real nice.
Well, that's an interesting little perspective. I mean, it's put nicely, to have people and everyone know that they can count on you.
That they can count on you, yeah.
That's nice. That seems like a very stable upbringing, or family, or friends from high school. Something that's stable.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Where'd you get that?
Trial and error.
Very nice.
Yes.
And very mature. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, it's been 1 minute. You have no idea what's about to happen.
It's been 1 minute of maturity.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you get. Congratulations, it's over.
All right.
I think stability is nice.
At least it happened here.
What'd you say?
I said, at least it happened here.
Oh, yeah. Just with you. It's the only place it ever should happen.
All right.
People keep telling me to grow up or become an adult or, like, get a steady job or, like, do something. I just don't like it.
Resist it.
So much. I keep resisting it.
Well, that's, this is, just to follow that thought. When you're growing up, when you're little girl, little boy, preteens, teens, everything's wonderful. Everything's alive.
Yeah.
And then grow up. Well, it's like, responsibilities and everything, but you don't seem to dream anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's what I hear when someone says, grow up.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to get bogged down in the rat race.
Yeah.
You don't want me to, strive, and go for it. There was a wonderful thing I had learned about Morgan Freeman where he said he started acting in his mid-30s and didn't get a real good role until he was 50.
I like that.
And I'm thinking, boy, I've known Morgan Freeman forever. And I go, really?
Yeah.
As I thought about it, I go, wow, I remember him. Yeah, I guess when I first see Morgan Freeman, he was in his 30s. So, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that everybody sort of being on their own path is kind of a thing that really resonates with me in terms of what does it mean to have a career, what does it mean to be stable, what does it mean to be a grown-up, what does it mean to still have that dream. I hesitate to call the work I would like to do, or the work that I am doing, to call it a dream, because the truth of the matter is that it's so tedious, and so there's so many kind of incredible steps to get to this full realization of whatever the project is, whether it is just, writing an essay, or having a play, or acting in a movie, or producing your own a movie, or whatever. I actually just saw a very good friend of mine, Kelly Russo, super talented actress, really funny woman. She produced this play last night in this wonderful, very small, intimate theater called the Sherry that I love, and it was insane. There were 20 actors. I shit you not, there were 20 actors in this one sort of like night of comedy and hijinks, all based off this idea of board games, or the games that we play, and whatever. And I saw her after the show, and first of all, she's a knockout. The girl's just like, she looks like Kelly Kapowski. Like, she's super tall and just stunning and smiles. Every time you're around Kelly, you just feel better. And then on top of it, she's this force. She's this like incredible talent. And then she managed to, like, mama community, get everybody into this one show. And the writer is this guy named Daryl, and he's just phenomenal. And I was so knocked out, because to say that, to do a show like Board Games is a dream, I think would be doing it a disservice. All those things that she had to do in order to make that a reality. I mean, the phone calls, and like, she was carrying props after the show, and her mother was there. Like, I don't even know if I'm doing it justice, but it was like an hour and a half of theater, basically put on because one person, like, did as much as they could, and saw the opportunity to sort of manage a whole community of people. It was just stunning. It's up next Wednesday night. I highly recommend it at the Sherry Theater. The show is Board Games. It's perfectly imperfect, and certainly still a discovery. But why not? I mean, go Kelly. Keep doing it, girl. If you're out there listening, keep going. So yeah.
Is that what you endeavor to do? What's your
Sure.
your approach?
I am. It's interesting. That's exactly what I am doing with my play Hooked. So for those spirits out there who are listening who don't know, I wrote a play called Hooked that I'm just having an utter love affair with right now. I love it so much, and hate it so much. And anyway, it's getting produced by the good graces of my community. I did an Indiegogo to raise the money, and it's a part of this new theater festival called the Los Angeles Theater Festival, run by Thomas Morris and David Gadd, who are wonderful and very brave to have a brand new theater festival in LA. And it's interesting, even though I hired extraordinary people in all the respective roles, director, producer, actors, props. We have wonderful assistants. Like, everybody's in place. I'm still required to do all of it.
Right.
I want to do all of it.
Right.
And it's such a joy to know that it's a fully realized dream. Yeah,
because
it's really nice.
The story is rather
it's rough.
nicely put. And then it's a time warp type thing. You're brought forward.
Yeah.
Is this an experience that someone told you about, that you read, that you are just socially aware? Because it's like you said, it's rather rough.
Well, I had a number of situations in my life where I kept repeating the same patterns of abuse, either that I saw or that I experienced. So if there was a person that I could get into this situation with within a 5-mile radius, I would find them and get back into the same situation. And if they didn't want to be in the situation, I would find a way to make sure that they were going to be in this situation with me, come hell or high water. Shout out to all my exes. Anyway. I love you guys. So yeah, I definitely kept finding myself repeating a similar pattern of abuse that I was either causing or just being a part of, and in that way causing it. And I wanted to figure out why in a way that felt honest, but also not so textbook. So there's this idea, everybody pretty much knows it, that you just repeat the relationships that you have when you're a kid, and you try to do them differently, right? Expecting that something will change, which of course it never will. And I became very fascinated about how our society sort of encourages or develops people who want to, or who inadvertently are in these kinds of romantic trysts, or just trysts in general in relationships across the board. I dated a lot of and was friends with a lot of people that were born and raised in Manhattan, and specifically downtown, and during this particular time, from 1975 until present day. And I started to just think a lot about trauma and what they had seen
as children,
as children, and then as adults and teenagers, and I became very fascinated with that. And then I read a lot, and I was really inspired. There's a man named Clayton Patterson who's sort of like a legendary figure downtown. He's extraordinary. If you don't know who he is, please go look him up. There was a movie made about him. I'm smiling at you can't see me, but there was a movie made about him called Captured, that so eloquently sort of lays out his ability to document and capture, for lack of a better word, the community as he saw it unfolding in New York City from the, I think, late 70s through today. He's still there, which everybody's very happy about, because I think he was going to move, but now isn't. And I watched that, and it scared me, because Clayton was one of the only people to really capture footage of the Tompkins Square Park riots, which happened August 6, 1988. Affectionately, I will refer to them as the police riots of August 6, 1988. And he was really the only person to get very good footage of it, and then as a result was sort of berated and attacked and was given a really hard time about it, because of course it condemned, I think if my stats are correct, 14 cops ended up going to jail, but were never convicted. And then and that was terrifying to me, and I wanted to know what it would have been like for a little boy to be home that night, a little boy who maybe grew up in an unsafe way and then heard this happening outside of his window. And so that became the central focus for the play. And I'm also just very interested in the unconditional love that our society has for the police, which when we hand it to them, they can either make the decision to abuse it or to care for it, which in a lot of instances we see they do abuse it, and in a lot of instances they care for it. And I think in our relationships, we also see these kinds of things unfolding, right? So if I say to you, Gus, I love you unconditionally, I know you and I love you, you have the choice whether to take that love and use it for good, if you will, or to not. And that's the story of Hooked. It's what do people do with unconditional love, and how is that abuse of power relevant outside, and how is it relevant in our homes? She said after 45 minutes. Sorry, guys. Don't ask me about this play. I'll just keep going.
No.
I love it so much. Please come see it. We got very good news yesterday. We got extended.
Very
so
nice.
we're just in this little 55-seat theater at the complex, and it's shout out to Monica at the complex. We love you. And but we were only supposed to have 8 shows, and then the head of the festival was like, do it again, and we were like, oh my god. I called all the actors, and everybody was celebrating, and it's quite a treat. So we have 4 more shows, and I'm happy to report that I've been reworking the play a little bit, because we've gotten a lot of feedback, and some really great critics have come, and there have been some really good ideas floating around the theater. So I've changed some stuff, so that's exciting.
Oh, did you? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Just as you were watching the play, the run, you thought, wow, I'm going to add this, take that.
Yep.
Okay.
Take that out, add this in.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is it won't be, it won't ever really be done. I think just like with a painting or a piece of music, it's done when you finish.
When they pull it away from you.
Yeah, when you're forced to stop because it doesn't inspire you anymore,
right.
maybe, or because there's a deadline, and that was definitely with Hooked. There was some kind of deadline for some version of this story to come out, which was when we premiered a couple weeks ago, but now there's like this new deadline, so that's exciting, and it's definitely a living, breathing thing. We have some wonderful actors. Sasha Higgins, who, if you don't know her, you should. She is a staple of Los Angeles theater. She does everything. She's it's just so powerful and so honest and so vulnerable on that stage. And she has a very tough role to play of a prostitute who has to make a very difficult decision with a young boy. And I have a lot of admiration for Sasha. She really jumped into this role with 2 feet, and it takes a really courageous person, an artist, to be the bad guy and then somehow figure out how to make that warm and encouraging and loving. And I'm really impressed with her. So yeah, come see Sasha.
Yeah,
she's the coolest.
That's funny. You know, as we're talking.
As I'm talking at you, as I'm monologuing at you, yeah.
Well, the purpose of the show.
Yeah, okay.
You know, people always say they get 15 minutes. Here you get an hour. So you got 4 lifetimes.
Yeah, I know.
You know, as we're talking, you know, I'm a big reader too. I love to read.
Yeah.
I love we talked about watching movies, love film.
Yeah.
But it's what draws me is the human experience.
Oh yeah.
What each character, and I love it, especially books, because you're able to delve into the backstory, hopefully, to the book, and learn why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I get from you, that you want to know, not just humanity in its totality, but humanity specifically.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what drew, you know, your characters, obviously the bits and pieces from, you know, people you
Everywhere.
knew,
Yeah.
and what got them to that point, because ultimately, there's going to be a decision made, but what has drawn them and where are they drawing from to make that decision to go in the direction that they're heading towards?
Yes, absolutely.
What sparked that in you? Did you read something? Did you have a conversation with someone? Did you see a film where you're like, I want to know more about their background?
Oh, please. This is my, what probably any therapist that's ever met me has referred to affectionately as my survival mechanism. I am just a curious human, and from a very tiny person I was like, who are you, what makes you tick, and like, tell me everything. I love, as much as I'm yapping, I love to listen. And when I did move to New York, you know, what's interesting is I was listening all the time. I'm sure some people would argue with that, but let's just say for all intents and purposes that I was very curious about people's stories, and I think my interest specifically about New York, and like everybody loves New York, so this is like, who cares, whatever, but my specific interest came because when I was a kid, I was afraid of everything. I mean, I was just terrified. I was scared of everything. If a neighbor came to knock at the door, I thought it was a guy that was going to kidnap me. I mean, I had like I was always imagining Freddy Krueger jumping out of my wall. Like, I was scared of everything, and I was in the suburbs, so I became sort of fascinated with like, are you joking? Like, you like what? Like, you lived here when you were 4? Like, I might have spontaneously combusted. Like, what do you mean that you were, you know, that you saw what I'm seeing now as a grown-up, and just this idea that the neighborhood downtown especially had changed so much over the span of 25 years. I thought that it was a really scary place to grow up, and it terrified me into curiosity. And I love all this. I don't know. I'm just like I'm like a groupie about like graffiti and like music and art. I just wanted to know everything. I wanted to know, like, how, when you were 12, were you like rollerblading around and doing graffiti, and like what was that like, and where were your parents, and like, why are you the way that you are? How did you become so sure of yourself? And this is true of 40 different people that I know, and
absolutely
really find that upbringing very fascinating, and really just for the selfish reason that I didn't have it. So to me, it was just like, how did you survive this? I mean, I for sure would have been dead. Like, if I had the opportunity to grow up in Manhattan, I would have died, for sure. I was so hell-bent on damaging myself as a 15-year-old, that there's just no way. I just, like, would not. There's no way I would have survived it. As afraid as I would have been.
And this was just a part of you. You didn't. Nothing sparked this. There wasn't. Like you bring up Freddy Krueger. You know, if you're 7 years old watching Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a good nightmare for at least a couple of years. Come on. Yeah. And there's because that's interesting because there are some people who are. We'll just do it in general terms.
Sure.
A little more bolder. Other people are a little more, timid.
Yeah.
And just personality-wise.
Yeah.
And then they learn. Someone encourages them, go off for sports or, go off for the debate club, what have you. Then the personality molds. And I think that's the role of the mentor. Which we lack today. It was your parents.
I know.
Or it was your grandparent. Or your Aunt Sue. Your
It's
Uncle
funny you say that. I have an Aunt Sue.
Oh, do you?
I do. Yes.
That was just a name I pulled out of the air.
And she gave me my first Sarah McLachlan CD, and so I thank you, Aunt Sue. I'm blessed because my father has been my mentor my whole life. He's my best friend, and he is a brave man. He's also extremely talented. He's a drummer, and he's a lawyer, and he's been able to build a family and put a roof over his head. I'm just like endlessly in awe of my dad. But I will say this. I was frightened as a child. And it wasn't until I was, 23, and now I'm 29. I would say when I was 23 or 24, I started getting brave. And some people would say some of, comparative, everything's relative, right? So some of the things that I've done in my life, like I moved to England when I was really young to study acting, and I lived in New York when I was very young to study acting, and I did things that I guess are brave, but for me, I always felt afraid. I would go on hikes and it would scare me, and I would go, I had a routine and I was afraid, and then at some time, 23, 24, something shifted where I became less afraid. And I think only in finding that was I able to start writing real stories, which is interesting, and I don't really have much more understanding of that quite yet. But yes, I think at some point realizing that I was safe, that I could keep myself safe in that way, and that I was able to get out and do whatever. I think that shaped my writing a lot, for sure.
So by the time you were 23,
yeah,
obviously you're grown. You have experience, maturity, learning. Because you weren't 8.
No.
You're 23. And you have learning.
Depends on who you ask. Yeah.
Where you think your worldview expanded
so much,
and then you were, I've got my footing a little bit. I feel more secure. Just like as you're talking, the mental images that come to my mind are, it's like when you're walking on a brick wall. At first you're unstable, but give it a minute and you're okay. All right, you're still not out of danger.
No, yeah.
But you have a sense of balance.
Yeah.
You think that's kind of what happened to you? You got a sense of balance.
And I'm still locating that centering within myself, because that brick wall is what we make it, right?
Yeah.
So, but taking full responsibility for your life is a thing that I think some people go through at a younger age, and some people never go through it, and. That's probably what was attractive to me about a lot of the characters that I'm writing about now. It's just this idea of bravery and taking responsibility for themselves, and come hell or high water. And I think as I have been getting older, I'm discovering those magic feelings of security. Right. That sort of that enable me to say, all right, well, I'm going to do this play. It's like half done, but it's such an important story to me, and something I really want to figure out. And so maybe it'll be important and interesting to other people. And then, the more people I sort of brought onto the project, the more I was sort of like, oh, well, I guess this is interesting. I guess these kinds of conversations about unconditional love and police brutality and society and prostitution exchanging sex for love and vice versa, and this whole thing. I think that I'm blessed because what's interesting to me seems to be interesting to other people, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's fascinating is as we're talking about your play. It's the tragedies or victories of life. I get a lot of people who, just in conversations will say, I can't believe this person did this to me, or they'll start complaining about humanity.
Yeah.
And my take is always, it's never been different. Haven't you read your Shakespeare? It's never been different. It'll never be different.
Right.
But you have these glimmers of hope, which, from just talking from my perspective, is it's the person. The person chooses to be different.
Yes.
To extend the hand or not extend the hand.
Yeah.
To be friendly or not be friendly. It comes down to individual choice. I'm really one of those people who don't believe it was, back in my embryo days. Yeah. We have learning to do, experience to grow, and then decisions to make of how we are going to experience this small gift of 70, 80 years, and how we are going to end it at the end.
Yeah.
Happy, oh man, I'm glad I helped. But what happens if you're 80, 90, and you're just about to, go off? And then a little boy comes in who's not little, he's grown. Man, he goes, because of you, when I was 7, you said, you picked me up, and now I'm this.
Right.
Wow. Or vice versa. Maybe you're the little boy.
Yeah.
Who took the help.
Yeah.
Or little girl, what have you. Life is just magical so many ways.
You never know. It is magical.
Yeah.
It is. And you never know what tiny word or gesture is going to set things off in this beautiful, positive way or in this damaging way.
Yeah.
The effect that we all have on one another, it's palpable, and it's delicious in this way. I heard something kind of beautiful. It's a little cheesy, but something to the effect of like if there are a bunch of daisies in a field, the daisies would never turn to each other and say, "I feel lonely."
Yeah.
Because they're all together. What is there to feel lonely about? You're in a field of daisies. It is this way with humanity, and it is this way with experience. You can choose your perspective. If you're a daisy in a field of daisies and you look around and it's your perspective that you're surrounded by a community that encourages you and a sun that nourishes you and soil that feeds you and all these things, if you choose to see it that way, then that's the way that it is. If you choose to say, gosh darn it, this wind, like, oh God, like I can't get sick, then there you'll be a chaotic person. I think, having a perspective and taking responsibility for that perspective is the best thing that an artist can do, especially. Because you know what, look, there are a lot of people who have their art, and their art is like, I'm sure your wife, I would consider an artist. For those of you who don't know, Gus has 5 children. 5. So there's some art to what your wife is doing every single day, and I don't know her personally. Hello, I'd like to meet her, but the point is that there is an art to that, right? But for the storytellers, for the people who are doing their darndest to bring stories to fruition, I guess I should say, whether that's by creating a chair or putting on a play, whatever that storytelling is to you, there's this really freeing thing about saying like, nah, this is kind of my choice, how I see what I'm creating and what I'm going to create. And then you just put it out there, and then it sort of doesn't matter. It is the experience of it, and it is the feeling of doing it. And if you can take on the perspective that it's a wonderful thing, then there it will be, regardless.
Right.
And that was really a long lesson, and one that Lower Manhattan in terms of a character helped me learn, because it's a place that fostered artists for so long and is still trying to, although it seems that all the artists are escaping from that part of town.
Right.
But let's just say that when I landed in New York at 17 years old, I did not have the confidence to say, here is my work, everybody, you go ahead and watch it or read it or think of it. I mean, I was not confident enough, but learning that, that I could put my voice out there and let the chips fall where they may has been quite lovely, and it's enabled me to be able to put on my first play. I've been in a lot of people's movies. You know what I mean? So I was able to do that because I can say, oh, I have nothing to do with this.
Right.
Right? Like, it's my work, but it's like, I don't know. Yeah. But to say, like, and I think a lot of actors, I'm sure, well, actually, anybody really, if you work for a company, you can say, oh, well, that, you know, the way they run it is the way they do it, but whatever. But if you branch out and make your own law firm, your own, you know, whatever it is, then you're suddenly, it's your name on the, it's you, right? And if people don't like something, then there you are. And I definitely think that having the strength and the courage to say, like, I'm going to just make my own
play.
My own play. Like, you know what? Like, I'm in, you know, other people's things. And I've been blessed, by the way. I have been in some wonderful projects with some extraordinary people who I just have this feeling are on the precipice of sort of continuing to make that work and get a wider audience.
Yeah, because you know, going along with what you were saying, because it's you that's on there.
Yeah.
These are your experiences, your thoughts, your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And if there are praises to you. If there are complaints
to you. I even had one of my best friends in the world. Her name is Rachel Willis. She is just one of my favorite souls, a very conscious person, a very loving, wonderful person. I'm very lucky to have her in my life. And you know, I had spoken to her, like, right after I had started this Indiegogo campaign, and I was frightened to go to my community and say, I have some ideas, I'd like to stick them up on a stage, but I don't have any money. Like, do you have $25 so that I could put lights on the stage and, like, go through this thing? And I had spoken to her, and it was so interesting. She was so warm and sort of generous in her encouragement that I had every right to ask for the support from my community, but it's not always an easy thing. And it's funny, Ryan Sage, who directed A Big Love Story, I remember one time making a silly judgment call and not showing up to a commitment I had made with him. And he was so upset, and I just couldn't understand why. And he said, well, you've never put something like this together. And you know what? I hadn't ever said, like, excuse me, community, help me, and excuse me, bunch of actors I don't know, please do this, and excuse me, theater, that I'm at your beck and call, and, you know, excuse me, whatever. So perspective is interesting in terms of that, too, because it's not just your name, it's also all your relationships that are on the line. Right. You know, and you've been there, you've gone to see your friend in a play or in a movie or make their music in a band or their clothing line, and you're like, this is subpar, and now we cannot be friends because I'm so uncomfortable. Like, what you think is okay is just not okay.
Are you brutally honest like that? Will you tell me, like, you know, this really, because, you know, that's funny, because
I don't know, I don't have a choice.
Do you really?
Yeah, no. I can't keep it to myself.
That's funny. That's great. Because I'm supportive to the end.
Yeah.
And the reason being, just from my perspective.
Yeah.
And the reason that is I know the love and labor someone goes through.
Yes.
And sometimes someone's talent is different than someone else's, or their journey at that particular time wasn't as productive as another time, but it's what they gave their all.
I know, yeah.
And it's probably the first beautiful. What'd you think? It was wonderful.
And Gus, wonderful. You know what? They need both of us, because here's the thing. Like, I have a dear friend whose name I won't say, who had a project.
No public shaming.
No, who had a project, generally, and I watched it, and I
ate him up.
No, you know, I'm not good at the bullshit. Can I curse?
If it slips out, it's all right. Yeah, but I got you.
I'm not good at it because, and you know what? It really comes from, I have very rarely in my life had people with lip serving me.
Yeah.
Is lip serving the proper way to say that?
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
giving me lip service. I don't. People have been harsh.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, you know, about one thing or another.
Right.
So I come from a school of hard knocks. Is that so cheesy?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I hear you. I'm glad, Gus, that you're there because the yous of the world are coming to my play and making me feel a lot safer. So, but you know, then there are the people who are coming to the play and saying like, "I'm so proud of you. You need to get this with this and that together."
And that's where the constructive criticism comes in. You know, that's different than the haters.
No, yes,
Yeah,
of
the
course.
haters are just like, okay, no, you have a dark place in your heart that you're trying to
I
fill
know.
with me. Yeah, why don't you
Yeah.
go ahead and step
I
outside?
haven't come across a ton of that.
Oh, good.
You know, and I don't know if it's because the haters just talk so much behind my back that it never gets back to me, which is
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Just like I have no interest in hearing it anyway, but I haven't had a ton of experience with people just being like, you know, snubbing their nose up and whatever, which, you know, maybe it's happening. I pay absolutely no attention to it. But yeah, I'm grateful for the support where it's endless love and people are just entertained and enjoying all of my movies that I've made and all the plays and the things. And I really, really, really appreciate the people in my life who have been honest with me and only through that have I been able to grow. Somebody somewhere said that sometimes your art, I'm going to butcher this quote. Somebody somewhere said that your art doesn't always like catch up to your taste when you start making things, so that the idea is to just make as much as you can so that at some point those two things can level out, so that where your taste level is at, your work can also get there. And the fact that when you start making work, and it could be 20 years of starting to make work, depending on your rate of producing things, that it just might not line up for a while, and that's okay too. And I also think it's okay to say, like, I made this, you know, and it's gonna get, keep going. Yeah.
And I think this is where, everyone's, again, perspective is different, and mine would be, you made that? I did. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shame to it.
Yes.
Because it interests me because I hear entertainers say, I can't watch myself, or I can't do.
Yeah.
Well, then how do you self-criticize?
Sure. Some actors don't.
It's interesting.
Some actors don't work like that. They work from an internal place. I understand and respect it. For some artists, especially actors, becoming self-aware of anything is like damaging.
You have to be careful.
It's damaging.
And then it's interesting because you realize that artists have no other way to express, and so they're expressing with their heart, and it's really the heart that's being punctured. It's not an opinion. Oh, that's your opinion.
Right.
It's not from the head. It's from the heart.
Right.
So you criticize the heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's devastating. Then if you self-criticize, you're like
my
in a
world
spiral.
is just
And then it's the reverse. Then you overblow yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so it's.
Yeah, ego is a tricky
whirlwind.
thing. Ego is a really tricky thing, especially with actors, because our bodies. Oh my God, that I'm about to say this. Our bodies are our instruments. I don't know what else to say. We don't have paintbrushes. We don't have canvases. We have our lungs and our bodies and our movements, and just figuring out how to navigate. What do I look like when I'm happy? What do I look like when I'm turned on? What do I look like when I'm interested? What do I look like when I'm listening?
Yeah.
And then in this given set of circumstances, what do I look like? Takes forever. It takes forever.
And it's true. When it's funny because I'll break things down scientifically, if you want to put it that way.
Please.
And because we know as science that when you observe something, it changes.
Yes.
So when you are self-observing, what do I look like when I'm nervous?
Yes.
Well, you're looking at yourself being nervous.
So it's different.
It's different from the true
Do you ever
sense of
see?
you.
Do you ever
being
see
nervous.
Fame? I always think of this. I always think
The
of that.
film Fame or the TV show?
The film.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the show, but I always think of that scene.
The old
when they're-
one or the
old one?
Okay.
I think of that scene where they're
Yes.
they're like observing themselves chewing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You know, there are a lot of actors who, if they don't ever find out what the external looks like, but they work from an internal place,
Beautiful.
that shit works for them. You know, for me, I would venture to say I'm a visual person. It really helps me to look and be like, oh no. Like, I have a tendency to clench my jaw. So I will go back through 10 years of movies that I've made and be like, hey, Faye, and that's me,
Right.
knowing that if I could relax my jaw, you as the audience member will be that much more involved in the story.
Right.
That takes forever,
Yeah.
and then look, there's a million different kinds of acting, there's a million different kinds of stories to tell and ways to communicate with your body, whatever, and stage is so different than film, and comedy is so different from, drama and these kinds of things. But I think that when it comes down to it, it's a lifetime study of what am I expressing, and everybody has a different way of figuring out how they do that. Being self-critical in all areas, for me, in this time in my life, I find endlessly valuable because I just want to keep getting better.
Well, is it? Are you trying to perfect your craft? Are you trying
Everything.
to perfect yourself
My
as a
personality,
person?
the way that I buy things in this world, what I eat, who I talk
Actually
to.
buy, like where you buy?
Literally.
Yeah.
I just watched a beautiful and just extremely upsetting documentary about the fast fashion.
Uh-huh.
This idea that you buy a car and that's supposed to last for a decade or longer, right?
Right.
And then it used to be that way with jeans.
Uh-huh.
You buy a pair of jeans and this is your one pair of jeans for a very long time. But that somehow certain companies have been able to convince us as a community that we need new things, and that to pay $15 for a pair of pants is totally normal,
Right.
when it's causing so much destruction and sort of hell all over the world, because it's in fact actually not supposed to be something
Sure.
disposable in this way. And
And they purposely make it disposable, so you have to go buy.
to keep buying it.
Uh-huh. They got the
And
trick.
I need an orange pair of pants, a purple pair of pants, a yellow pair of pants, and jeans. Like, why? For why? And
To be fashionable, to be in.
to be on the in show. No, but you know what? Listen, I will say this: to be a self-actualized person, or to be somebody who is aware of their effect on the world, it's one and the same for me. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to pay attention to what I'm eating and what I'm buying and how I'm treating people and what my art is. Like, how do you compartmentalize those things? And if a person found a way to compartmentalize them, bravo, and that's fantastic. For me, it's all one and the same. I'm telling stories and interacting with people, and I'm always trying to do better. And I like that, I guess. I don't really know what we're talking about.
No, we're
talking about?
We're talking about the. No, I'm following you because I love these type of conversations because it's the human experience, because it's coming from an artist's point of view. I take life the same way, and I always tell everyone, if my goal since I was young, I don't even know where I got this idea, I did not want to be the same a few years later. So when I'm 20, I didn't want to be the same as I was 15, or when I'm 30, when I'm 20.
And look, you can't be.
No, because by the virtue of just age, but what it meant to me was there's a lot of reading and learning,
Yeah.
and I took it upon myself to guide myself.
Yeah.
There were people, you should read this, you should do that. Okay, I like it, but I need to know.
Yeah.
I need to find out.
Yeah.
What's it mean to me? Because there are realities that it's our perspective that is our reality. For instance, when you talk about there are some laws that can never be changed. I've never seen gravity, but I experienced gravity,
Sure.
and I know that's never going to change.
Yeah.
I look at a Picasso, I think it's brilliant. Someone looks at it and says, who let the 5-year-old doodle and throw it up there for $1 million? Well, you need to know Picasso. Picasso was an evolution of sophistication.
Perspective, art history, for example. Understanding how a painting gets created would
Exactly.
change your perspective.
Because now you're looking now. What about the artists? What about Van Gogh and Gauguin and everyone? They're different dimensions, but they were still artists exhibiting, trying to put on exhibit what they thought and saw from their point of view.
Yeah.
And I always thought we talked about film earlier. I said a great film is like a great book, a great painting. You see it, and it's like, wow, man, that touched me. And it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be a comedy. It could be a drama. It doesn't necessarily have to be a particular genre, but something just grabs you. It's like, wow, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true for who? For me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I get from what you're talking about your play when you're these aren't my truths.
Yeah.
These are the truths I'm putting out there, and hopefully one of you guys will get a truth. And,
I mean,
and
the best part about, and I think I'd be hard pressed to find a person that didn't feel this way, but the best is the one. I got a phone call from Kevin Torres, who's been a production assisting, and he moved me with his just connectedness to this thing that I didn't even realize other people could feel so connected to. It's my understanding that this is primarily made up, and also made up of my emotions and experiences, and then this other human spouted 20 minutes of, here's what this meant to me. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Someone caught it.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Somebody got it. And it inspired. There have been a number of people in my life in the past couple of weeks who have said, I'm going to write. And I don't care if it's because, well, you did it, so I can probably do it, or if it's because I've been dying to tell this private, scary story, this thing I experienced, which I would never want to tell anybody, but actually is quite funny in retrospect. And, I have a dear friend, Olivia Saperstein, who's a very talented filmmaker, and she is about to make... Can you hear me, Olivia? She is about to make her movie. She's going to make a movie about this really horrifying experience that happened to her, and it was because I said, look, I'm gonna get up and do this thing, and I don't really care how vulnerable it is. I'm gonna just deal with that other people in my community are like, you know what, yep, that's how change happens, that's how art happens, that's what it is. Just get up and say the thing that you're afraid to say, and then sit down and let the chips fall where they may. And look, I end up getting to be here with you, Gus.
Hey.
Gus, tell me just one story about one of your rings, please, because I'm one, sick of hearing myself, and two, very curious about the blue one. Just tell me.
You like those? And these are my tame rings. You should see when I really get.
Oh, you have more?
Oh, I got dozens.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's I'll be anywhere.
You can't see, but he's got a ring on every finger.
Yeah. You know what? And I had
not the thumbs.
I had thumb rings too, except I lost weight.
Really?
Where my rings go?
Maybe one of your children took it and made a shrine to you.
They're putting it. Oh, but did you even see these?
I did.
My beard usually hides my. Again, everything has a story. And
you're curated. You've curated your life.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really lovely thing.
And it's, again, it's a personal journey that I have. These are milestones. These are trophies. Look at where I've been, what I have done.
Yeah.
And I see art the same way. When you're talking about your play, here is a milestone.
Yes.
And what's next? Because, because there's so much more.
Yeah.
It's so much more that you have experienced, and so much more that you will experience. How are you going to look at it when you're 30, 40, 50? I can't believe I wrote that. Wow. Or, man, that was great. Man, that was... Or it's interesting.
Brave will always be the word that I'll think, right? And
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, you'll keep making work. One of my favorite stories I've heard recently is about Sting. I don't remember where I heard this, was a podcast. I don't know, but he was didn't make music for a long time, and it was lack of inspiration. He was like, who cares? Like, I don't know, whatever. Nothing was inspiring to him. And he had told all these stories through his music, and they were his stories, and they were stories of people he had come into contact with. And then he ran out of stories. I'm going to venture to guess it had something to do with the fact that he got, like, a lot of money and started to enjoy his life a little, and the caliber of person in terms of...
because you don't meet the same people anymore. Once you get develop... two things: fame or fortune.
Yeah.
You are disassociated from reality, if we want to put it that way.
Or a larger community. I think you're in a smaller community. For sure.
One thing I remember reading. I love to read Malcolm X.
Oh.
And read about his relationship with Muhammad Ali and everything. One thing he always told Muhammad Ali before Ali broke off with him was, "Stay with the people who made you."
Oh, yes.
And that's why Muhammad Ali always was with the group of people. It reminded me of baseball player Babe Ruth. everyone loved him. Why? Because he was an average guy
Yeah.
who I could hit a ball. They said he struck out more than the home runs he hit.
Right.
And he said he's just jolly,
I love that.
loved people.
Yeah.
And
Well,
his perspectives remained the same.
That's the thing about Sting. It's like you hit the nail on the head. His world changed,
Yeah.
and so then he went home. He's from a small, I think it was almost like an island.
Yeah, and they're over there like you're.
I don't want to ruin. I don't want to ruin this story. So go look it up if you're interested.
please.
Sting, he's awesome. But anyway, the point is that he went back home to where he had fought so hard to get the hell away from.
And there he was nowhere
And
else.
there he found the stories that he was looking for, and then put his show up on Broadway. Like wrote the entire Broadway show that's now up. That is all about these people that had been in his life when he was tiny, and it was really like a refocusing of perspective on something that he had ran away from, not even walked.
It's funny because it's always been the same. I heard there's Barry Manilow said the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Barry Manilow is not a man I know much about. Tell me.
Oh, well,
I don't know
his
much
story
about
was,
him.
well, since the 70s, it's been huge.
Yeah.
And I think it was in the mid-90s, if I remember correctly. He said he was doing a Broadway show or somewhere, and he looked around and realized all the people I have around me are people I pay. And so because I think he asked something, they're like, "Oh yeah," and he said, "Just tell them, everyone here is who I pay. What else are they going to say?"
Yeah.
And from there, he said he just started weaning out. And he went away for a while.
Well, to be fair to people who have a lot of people around them who they pay, sometimes there is something very comforting about employing your community.
A sycophant.
Well, look, here's the
Beyond
thing.
sycophant.
Here's the thing. Everybody who's worked on Hooked has done so for free. They have donated their time, their energy, their love, their passion, and they don't yes me, mainly because of that, I think, but also because they are there for the pure joy of the story and the work and the growing and the learning of it, right? But what's the truth? I go to sleep with a smile on my face every night because I gave 15 people a reason to wake up and get excited today. Now, will that always be the case in terms of, the day that I get, Hooked is off Broadway and we're, supported
Meeting
by
with the unions.
Yeah, meeting with the unions and or we're a part of Rattlestick or Sacred Fools or trying to think of, what's the Rogue Machine. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if you're listening. But the day that we're in that scenario and people are getting paid for things and, that's okay too. But yeah, I guess you probably want a lot of other people around you than the people that you're paying. But I did want to say it's nice. Sure. It's nice to give reason to your community. Why not?
That's different because you have things, but you don't have the person who will tell you, your play really stinks. And it's like, really?
Really, I have plenty of people.
Exactly. Oh, Barry, your music's wonderful. Really?
Right. Well, he's certainly at the level is different.
So,
Poor Barry Manilow. Did he weed out all of his...
Yeah, he did. He stopped. He said he stopped and went, just like Sting. I think it happens to everybody. Who doesn't want to hear, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're wonderful, you're wonderful, you're wonderful"?
Actually, some people, you'd be surprised. There are some people who get tired of hearing how wonderful
I'm sure their lives change, but from human perspective, everyone wants to hear that they have value.
Right.
And then that's from a sensible point of view, but then you have ego. Come on, I'm Sting. I'm from the Police.
Yeah.
I did. Of course, I'm great. I was a teacher. Now I'm a rock star. Or like why is his name? Rod Stewart. I played soccer professionally.
These references are so amazing. First of all, I love Rod Stewart. I'm seeing it now. I love Rod Stewart so much. I have tons of his live albums.
Yeah.
I really love him. I should bring them. We should play it here.
Yeah, you could.
No, but I definitely said, I have a baby sister, Alexis, who is in Bucks County right now in Pennsylvania where my father is. And it was really nice to have some success with Hooked and to get it picked back up and have people responding to the material. And I made it a point to tell her, and I'm saying it again, that there is absolutely nothing different in my life at all about how hard I work, what I'm doing, what I'm focused on. And as your work gets more recognized, or as you get more support from your community, or as people get on board with the desires that you have had for a long time, as your desires get on board with your desires, it seems like something's changed, but nothing has changed. I have a good friend who is doing very well, and we had a long conversation because he said that his world is getting so small. And I was like, well, here's the thing though, Gus. I was like, so you're 35, this guy's like 35. I was like, you're 35. I'm like, how many 35-year-olds do you know who have, 17 best friends and all this time to, be really close with a lot of people? I think, yes, there's some element of success or what have you, especially in the entertainment industry, that your world's going to inevitably get smaller. But then there's this whole idea of like, right, but also we're coming out of our 20s and your world just might be getting smaller, and so
and
I think that's where
it all depends on the change, because if he has 17 friends, I mean, he's beat the odds, which is that old adage, it says, rare is the man who has 5 true friends. So if you have
that's the problem. I don't know that 17 of them are very true, and I think that's what the conversation was about.
You bet.
And you can't necessarily keep that many close friends to you. At some point, you only have so much, I like to say, glitter to share.
Yeah, well, and it goes beyond, because now, again, we're back full circle to the conversation of humanity.
Yeah.
Jealousy, envy, what have you.
Now you sound like Biggie.
Yeah, and it happens. There are rarely, very few of your close friends will stand up and say, wow,
and it's so
Jillian,
amazing.
You did it.
You know what?
Going, and
you know what? Augie Duke. Are you listening?
There you go.
Augie Duke.
Is that one?
Augie Duke, okay, who's one of my favorite actresses, okay? She's actually about to start shooting a movie called Wild Boar that I am very excited about, even though I imagine it's going to be a very upsetting shoot, and I feel terrible for her because everybody's going to die of these giant pigs. This is not the point. The point is that Augie Duke, who has been an actor, born and raised in LA, her whole life and her whole world, she was absolutely invaluable in terms of, valuable in terms of getting this play together, because I had been going through a very hard time, and she was really the only person in my community that put me almost on her shoulders and said, keep going. Wow. She helped me cast the whole play. That's why Rodney Eastman is starring in the play, because she put us in touch. And Seth Lee, who's in the play, who's just played Ben Affleck in the movie, is amazing. He had been in a show with Augie. Ryder Craig, who's understudying for him, is in class with Augie. Augie literally gifted her experience and talent and generosity to something that absolutely has nothing to do with her, and then came to the show 4 times.
Look at that.
And every time has given of her energy to bring something to this project, and I love her so much. I'm moved, and it's such a wonderful thing. But why would you want more than one person to do that for you?
If you got one, then that's all you need.
Everybody should have Augie Duke, but you can't. She's mine.
Yeah, I got mine.
I'm sure. Yeah, I hope that's your wife too.
Absolutely. Down to the last few bits.
It hasn't been an hour.
It has passed an hour.
Come on, bullshit. Really?
The truth? Oh yeah, you bet.
That's embarrassing.
That's
Boy,
right.
can I monologue.
But I want to talk social media, anything like that. Your play.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the Jilly situation, because there always is one on Instagram, which I like, and Hooked Extended brownpapertickets.com is how you can get tickets to see Hooked. We open back up on Wednesday, so we're Wednesday at 9:30, Thursday at 9:30, Saturday at 9:30, and Sunday at 7:30.
Wow.
Jillian Lee on Facebook if you want to say hello, and whoever you are out there, I'm glad that you spent the afternoon with us. It's like, what is it, a Thursday?
Thursday afternoon.
Thanks for hanging. Come see the play if you can.
Right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gus.
Thank you for coming in, and more success.
Many more reasons. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you.
You bet. Hey, well, this has been Gus Summers, and you've been listening to the In Show. We had in the studio guest Miss Jillian Lee talking about her great play Hooked, and of course her perspective on life and everything she has been thinking about all her life. And of course, visit us, theinshow.com, where you'll be able to see this interview once again. Of course, don't forget and remember every Thursday when I host In-Show Celebrities, where I talk about some of my favorite films and actors. Of course, look for us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram, all those great social media sites. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, Gus has left the building.